Hi, hello, good evening to you all. Thank you to each and every one of you being here with us today. We are very pleased to be able to welcome those of you that have been with us for a long time now, as well as those who are new to this community. So, today we're gonna plan about getting started with Laravel back-to-back web backend series, which is trending backend technology based on PHP. This will be a great chance to you all, and it is organizing by free and open source software community from University of Sri Javathanapura. Well, I don't want to take you too much of your time. I need to leave some time for intro our special guest speaker. And it is such a pleasure to welcome one such a star, our Mr. Yanageethan Balasubramaniam, the honorable guest speaker, who is freelance software engineer and experienced backend developer. And especially in the end of the sessions, we have Q&A sessions which will help you to clear your all doubts. If you have any suggestion, clarifications, or questions, just raise your hands or feel free to ask your questions in chat box. And please keep your mic mute and give your great support us. So let's start our sessions, and Mr. Yanageethan Balasubramaniam, we are excited to wait to take over this session. Hi, Anna.
Sorry. Hi. Good evening to you all. Let me turn on my video. So, can you see me all?
Yeah, we can see you.
Okay. So today, I'm going to do about getting started with Laravel. So let's jump into the presentation. Give me a moment to start. I'll turn off the video for the time being. Okay. So can you see the slides now?
Yeah, it's visible.
Okay. So let's start with what is Laravel first. Okay. So Laravel is basically a PHP framework. So what does that mean by a PHP framework? PHP frameworks like these are structured PHP code languages, coded systems which make you program in certain manners. Okay, so what is the real advantage of using PHP and on with Laravel? That pure advantage. What is the design model of this Laravel thing? What do you get? Is a model view controller. So what does that mean by model view controller? Represents the database, and a view which is displayed to a user, controller which binds to both of them. Okay. So why you need a framework in PHP, as I said previously? So you need some sort of organization. Without some organization over a long time, what happens is you get many files which you can't manage. Okay, so what are the advantages that you get is easy to maintain large code bases, and it reduces repeated code and reduces development time. Okay, so let's jump straight into our hands-on demo. So I'm not going to discuss much about what is in for Laravel. You can read more information on laravel.com. Okay, so let me show you the website. So this is laravel.com. So most of the information I'm going to show you today is available here. So I'm going to go over the very critical parts that you'd come across to set up Laravel. Okay, so first of all, when setting up Laravel, you need something called Composer. Composer is the integral part of the PHP ecosystem currently. Okay, so we go to getcomposer.org to get that. So I'll share you these links. You can get them from the organization. So I'll download this one. Okay, so the basic requirement is you need to have PHP installed on your machine. Easiest way to have PHP installed is by using installer, bundled installer, just like a WAMP or MAMP or LAMP stack. It gives you the PHP stack. So for Windows, you might have to change these commands a little bit. So I'm going to go over this and get into my command line. I'm going to paste this command. Okay, so this is the first step that you need to run if you want to it's Laravel. Okay, so let it run for a moment, and it's downloading. So what it happens in okay, so I have the composer file now. Okay, so it's there. Okay, so what I would do is I would run this file. So whenever I run this file, what it can do is like it shows the available options. So let's continue to Laravel, where you can get this thing set up. Okay, so Laravel documentation gives you the basic setup method. Okay, so whenever you head over there, you find the exact commands. Okay, so right now, what I'm gonna do is I have already set up Composer in my environment, so I can just type Composer. You can do the same if you can move your Composer file. Okay, this is the Composer file. You need to move it to a binary location that is somewhat similar to this in a Linux system. And for Windows, it would be in your binary directory inside your documents folder. Okay. So once moved, this composer becomes active like this. So I'm going to install the Laravel installation via compose. Okay. So we can use two methods. One of the method is we can use an installer. Okay. So I'm going to go with the installer method. So we get the installer, and installer is getting installed. I have previously installed the installer, so it doesn't update. So going ahead, what would happen is this will install a binary called Laravel. Okay, so what this binary can do for us, it can create a new app in moments for us. What I'm going to do, I'm going to create an app now. Okay, so Laravel new getting started. Okay, so it just creates the application. The application will be ready in a moment, then we can go into the depths of it. So while we go through, there are some other mechanisms by which you can set up Laravel. Okay, so on macOS you have Laravel Sail, or you can use Wallet. Okay, so I'm using Wallet. It's a separate setup you can find on macOS. Or Sail, which is available for all three platforms. Okay, so you can find more information about this Laravel Sail in the Laravel website. The installation and setup of Laravel Sail is minimal, and also it requires Composer. Okay, so going ahead, the application we just installed is ready. So let me go into the repository. Okay, so we have the repository here, and suppose now what we can do is like Laravel ships with a special file called artisan. Okay, what this file can do. Hello. Hello.
Yeah,
Can you guys hear me?
yeah, we can hear you, but we can see your screen. Yeah, yeah, now okay.
Okay, okay, okay. Yeah. Now okay, right? Give me a moment. Okay. So sorry if I missed anything. So the Laravel ships with a special file called artisan. Okay. This file, what it does with this file, Laravel carries certain set of commands which are executable via this artisan file. Okay, so this is a literally Laravel framework running on command line. Okay, so what we can do, we can trigger artisan by calling our PHP script. So you would need a PHP as previous in Composer. Artisan by default will list all of the commands it has available. So whenever you install a Laravel package, there are certain packages specific to Laravel. What you can do is like it can add certain commands here. You can also add commands which are used in terminal. Okay, you can add additional commands. That is the beauty of Laravel. Everything is extensible. So let's go ahead. See, let's go ahead and see what is on this page. So for seeing this website, what can we do is Laravel ships with a special method, PHP artisan serve. Okay. So what it can do is it can start a simple server with PHP's built-in HTTP server. There's a built-in HTTP server with PHP. So Laravel can use that and generate usable experience. Please be aware. Please be aware. Not work with your if you are trying to develop a mobile application using this backend. That backend will not work properly. Okay, so that is a problem with the PHP itself. So let's go ahead further. What can we do with this? Okay, so let's explore this. So I'm going to start up PHP Storm. Okay, so PHP Storm is my go-to library. Go to Kit for working with Laravel. On Laravel gives you a lot of information. So let me go through this composer.json first. Is exactly you need PHP 7.3 and PHP 8.0. You can run any version in between, but anything below or above this version will not work. The most supported versions are 7.3 currently. PHP 8.1 is in development. Okay, so all of these other packages are auxiliary packages which are used in most of the instances. Okay, so let's see what's in here. So Laravel ships with multiple directories. I have told earlier. So Laravel has a basic app directory which houses your entire application's logic, and a bootstrap directory which is a starter point for your application. And then there is a configuration directory which carries every configuration relevant to your app. And then there is a special directory for database which stores your database migrations, such as when you create a new table. When you want to create a new table, you can programmatically declare it inside Laravel, and Laravel takes care of managing the migrations for you. And also it can also manage basic seeding, such as like if you create a users table, it can create a user based on the seeders you can declare. So for example, you can declare a factory that is that generates the user model. Okay. So here you can see there's a user factory is being called for 10 users. When we run this, what it will do, it will create 10 users with a specific details that we have given here. So currently we are using a faker mechanism. Faker is a library which is used by Laravel for these factory instances. Faker can randomly generate values based on the requirements. Okay, so let me go through the rest of the directories. Okay, so public, this is where our most of the client facing code will be there, like JavaScript files, CSS files, like that. And then resources, here we declare our backend views and the resourceful distribution of the software. Okay, then we have the routes. So here we need to say, have a good attention on here. Okay, because there are 4 files currently. In early days of Laravel, we started with very little. There was only 1 file that's for web, and that was simply called routes. So this route file is currently separated into 3 pieces. One is a web one, which one we will be using today, and there is another one called API, and another one called channels, and another one called console. You can read about more of these in the Laravel side. I'll not be covering them today. So going ahead here, web endpoint, this page, the welcome, we are seeing this here. This is the welcome page that is declared inside Laravel. Okay, so that file is here. So what is the specialty about this blade? You could see some difference here. You have welcome.blade.php in the views directory. So I'm calling a view called welcome. All 4 resource views are going to exist here, but there's a difference here. Why is that blade is here? The blade is templating engine for Laravel. So what it can do some pretty awesome things. So in PHP, if you have written some code with PHP, you would know, you would write something like this. Okay, so if true, okay, then write some HTML, and then you try it in this, and you'd finish this. So this code will display building a large application. This code becomes very, very messy. And when you have large logics, it is completely hard to manage these things. So Blade has very small constructive operations. That's like you can type if at if, and then you can say true, and then it can actually replace this function. And also for the end if, I can just replace it with end if. Okay. So what would happen now is this write some HTML would display below our welcome. Let's put this inside the body. Okay. So there you would see write some HTML below the all of the content here. So I'm just going to delete everything here. Okay. So that we can see the changes clearly. Okay. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to change it to forward, and it does that. So what happens behind the hood? So PHP doesn't have these directives. How does this happen, you may ask? Okay. So what would happen here? It goes inside. Laravel makes a copy of this file out of this, and then it creates a temporary representation that is compatible with PHP. So then you get the same output I just write earlier. It's similar. So it solves the problem of writing very large amount of code, which is not readable. Like this is much readable than writing like this. Say, let's say this will also a functional code. This can function as same as the previous one. Rather, we write it like this. That is the beauty of Laravel Bleed. You can find more information about Laravel. Wait a moment. I'll find the box here. Okay. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Guys, little disconnected. Okay. I'm having some disconnection. It's a weird issue with this network. Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, sorry, there was a problem with my network. Okay, so you can find more information about this blade templating in the Laravel website. All of these conditionals and rules are explained here. Most of the standard PHP functions, and plus there are some additional Laravel specific directives like authenticated user, guest user, and specific gates. Gates mean those are authorized users. Like when you have some roles in your system, you can specify such. Okay, so let me go through the files. Okay, so Laravel has this storage directly. I have shown you that there is a view temporary file, and then it also has some other files which are temporary cache files. So whenever someone visits here, by default, the Laravel uses these files to save them. So and the next thing, the very important next part. Okay, let me go through this here. We have logs directory inside the storage. What the logs directory can do, it can create logs. So how do we call this log is by using a direct facade that is from the Laravel. Laravel has a concept called facade. So let me explain the facade concept. So early days of Laravel, everything was in static functions. So for example, you have a static function here. This function can be called as if like this. Log get application, say. So if you know about PHP, you would know that static functions are callable like this. But this function, this specific function is not defined here. Rather, it defines a blank function. What this facade do is facade will create a temporary instance from the IOC container that Laravel has since Laravel 4. In early days of Laravel, it was not the case. It had direct static methods which bound the functions. For example, this facade would have typically public static function info, and then declarations would go. Rather, currently, we would see there is no function, rather a pointer, mere pointer. This info function would be called from inside our system. So this function would be explained inside here when we go into Laravel framework, and we need to go inside the log and then logger. So this logger will have the info function declared here. So this is the info function we are calling here through the facade. Facade will automatically map this function from the logger. It creates a temporary instance. If you know about program object-oriented concepts. This will create, facade will create a temporary instance that is persisted across the entire request chain, and then it gives the output to here, so that we can just call log info. So what would happen here is whenever we visit our running site, okay, so I have visited this site now. What would happen is it would create a log file and insert it here. So there is a new file, laravel.log. By default, it creates a laravel.log. You can configure, there are multiple methods to configure this. Okay, so you would see the sample log item is here. You can do, you can log a lot of information like a request. Okay, so I'll come up to this request function later on, but I'd like to show you. So there is no values here, right? Request. Okay. Okay. So, and another function inside Laravel. Laravel comes with a test suite pre-installed. So you can declare test features for your existing functions. Like when you declare a new function inside your controller, you can declare tests for them. So if you declare tests, it can be automatically tested when you make new changes that saves you development time. Okay. So going further, I'm going to demonstrate how to create simple to-do app using Laravel. Okay, we'll just focus on the nitty bits of getting something done with Laravel first. Okay, so anyone have any questions on so far?
No questions in the chat box. Chat box. Go ahead.
Okay. 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 So what do we do now? We are going to define some routes. So what does that mean by routes? I explained. We have the requests coming, inside, and then we serve them with routes. So each of these routes declare what are the responses we are going to give to the user. Okay. So let me start with starting with standard route for simple page called get/todos. Okay, so I'm going to just declare a function. So these functions are called closure functions. Okay, so these functions in PHP by default. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to just return todos. Okay, so I'm going to return some text with is, and Laravel is Laravel can capture that and return the string only. So we just only get the string. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to return a view like this. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to copy this one and paste it here and say todos. What will happen here? You would see an error. So todos view is not found. It's going to ask for us a view file. So view files are defined here inside the view directory. So as I have not defined a todos.blade.php, it is asking for me to declare one now. So I'm going to declare one file is todos.blade.php. Now we have the file. What we would see is there is no error now. We have an empty page. To-do list. We'll say a to-do list here. So the file is rendered now. What we're going to do next, we need a few more things to display here. So first, we need to create some to-dos. So we create some to-dos. So by default, what would we use to create a resource when we create something new? In HTTP, by default, you have around 4 there are 6 to 7 different verbs, HTTP verbs. By default, Laravel has a direct mapping. So it's called get, put, post, put, and delete. So these are the HTTP verbs that are supported by the Laravel route system. So you can understand that this is the get is read, getting is for reading, and post is for creating new, put is for updating, delete is for deleting the existing things. So let's go ahead and declare some route relevant to adding to-dos. Okay, so first I'm going to declare a to-dos post route, which will receive our to-do and create a new to-do whenever we post an update. So this is similar to what you would post with HTML, and you have a PHP file called, say, post.php, and you declare a HTML where you have the action linked to that post file. Okay, so I'm going to declare this function. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to name this one so that I can call this. We can give names to route declaration. This is called a route declaration. Okay, so this is a route declaration. Say we go here and say this is to-dos post. Okay, so what happened here? Whenever we call to-dos post by name inside certain functions, Laravel is intelligent enough to capture that we are referring to this endpoint. So then whenever we change these values, we don't have to change everywhere. We just need to change this URL, and the application will function fine. So what we can do next? So we have defined a to-dos post now. Let's see what we have here. So I'm going to declare route for the context of showing you how does it work. To-dos.post, what will give you that entire URL which the form should post to create a new to-do. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to create to-do using this one. So I'm going to create a new to-do, but how? We haven't declared any database. Now, how do we connect to database within Laravel? We have a question now. So we have a database folder, and how do we connect to the database? So we first need to declare some migrations. So let's go ahead and start declaring some migrations. Artisan. So what the artisan can generate the migration. Okay, make migration, create to-do table. Okay, so if you can get this done, you'll get a new migration created inside the migrations directory. So inside then, by default, Laravel fills up 2 fields, which is ID and timestamps. So you can remove these fields, but it is advised that you keep the ID field to the minimum, because this field is by default required by most of these databases to maintain integrity. You may have seen, like, you declare an ID field. It is similar to this. So I'm going to declare string now inside Laravel, this to-do table in this instance. Okay, so let's call this thing called a description, and let's say another one called for Boolean, which would say whether we tracked it's completed or not. Okay, so once we have done this, we can migrate the database, but we haven't told Laravel where to put this database in. So we need to give the database where should we move. So by default, Laravel gives you the default name currently, DB database getting started. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to log into my MySQL here, and you should be following the same procedure that you'd have a MySQL instance from your local MEM stack. If you have a MEM stack or LAMP stack or a stack, you would have a specific username and password. That is, the username is mostly root, but the password may differ according to the requirements of your system. Like sometimes the MEM forces you to install with a password. Currently, I do not have a password, so that I just log in with the username. Okay, so then now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new database. Getting started. Okay, so I already created a database. I'm going to drop it and create a new one. Okay, so I just created a new database without any tables. What would happen now? We can just migrate by just calling the artisan migrate command. Then what it will do, it will read all of these files and create the migration. Okay, so we can also call the seeder. We have declared that we have some seeding to be done. So seeder is here. Seeder has a factory calling for 10 users. So let's see what happens here. DB seed. Okay. So let me show you what happens with the database. So here you can see it created 10 users with random emails and random names, so that we can use these to test our application. Okay. So what happened here, we will not be using the seeder or the user accounts for the today. We will look into them later on, but these are the very simple concepts which I explained very well on the Laravel documentation. So we'll go into getting started with Laravel. So we have now declared the database table that is also created here, to-dos. Okay. So now what we're going to do, we're going to create some records here. So as I told you earlier, we will need model. So what we have here in Laravel, we have models which bind to the database, and we have controllers which bind to the bind the database, and then views for use for front end, and the controllers which bind them together. So now what we have done, we have created a table, but we have not created a reference inside Laravel so that we can call this. So how do we create a model? Laravel Artisan provides a simple method. So what we'll do, we'll create a new model with the Laravel Artisan command, make model. Okay, so we will create a new model to do. And once done, this command will automatically scaffold class inside app models. So we have a to-do class here. So how this to-do class will map to the table inside your database is automatic. So this table will automatically resolve the to-do database name, table name based on your class name, and you don't need to declare certain table names like this. If you have a special table, let's say you named this to-dos table to-do list. Okay, for example, let's say we declared it like this, and our model is model's name is to-do. Laravel will not be able to resolve this automatically. So what would happen is it would get confused and it will only search for the to-dos, so that when we have such a situation, we just declare to-do list. Okay, so the same table name should be declared inside the model. So now we have created the model mapping inside Laravel. Okay, so I didn't create with I used the same name. So I'm going to comment this line. So we'll use the automatic resolution from the Laravel's model handler. So now what we do is we created the to-do table and created the binding. Now we declare the views. We have the view here. So we need to load the views here. First, we need to create something. So let's see if we can create a new form here. Okay, so by default, you know, there is, you know about HTML forms. In Laravel, there is a special thing to be done. Laravel by default requires us to use something called cross-site request forgery tokens, CSRF tokens. So CSRF tokens are by default declared inside a hidden field inside every form used in Laravel. Okay, so it can be simply called by doing a blade directive called CSRF. So Laravel will automatically inject this field for us. So now we declare the standard route action for the form. See, I have shown you earlier route. I'm going to call the route function in Laravel. This route function, as I have shown you earlier, will capture the name from here and map it to us. Okay, so I'm going to call this one and call this here. And then I'm going to declare the method, which is going to be the post. Okay, now I have declared the form which is linking to the post point. So for example, I'd like to show you this output on a raw format here. So we can see that here. Okay, so this is here. We do not see the form since it is hidden. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm going to create a new input with the text field called description, which matches to our database we have created. We have a field called description and a field called completed. So then we declare one more field, input type checkbox, name completed, value true. Okay, and now we declare a standard submit button. What this would do is, like, it will create a standard HTML form, a simple form inside our Laravel application. Give me a second. I'll add some code. Okay, so now we have the submit button ready and our description ready for the form. So let's say I'm going to type something, and I'm selecting this one and submitting. What happens is it submits the form, but we do not see any output because then we have not declared anything. So let's say declare something. So I'm going to return the request itself. Okay, so what would happen here? You can see that there we see a token. This is the CSRF token that we just embedded here, and then the description field, and which we have typed something, and then there is a completed one which says true. What we can do now is we can save this using a function. This function is going to save this. So as you can see, we have declared the model here, to-do model. So we can call this model to create a new instance of to-do. Let's say new to do. Okay, so this will create a new instance of to do, but for the moment this is not yet saved. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill the attributes. By default, Laravel blocks every, you cannot fill automatically, so that I'm going to declare them one by one. So I'm going to get the request. I'm going to get the description here and say to do description and $to do completed, and then say completed. So I'm using double equal here because HTML will not directly translate into the function inside the PHP. So now what would happen is this instantiation is done. In Laravel, whenever your instantiation is done, your model is ready, but it will not persist into the database. To persist into the database, you need to save it specially. Okay, so it applies for every model you save. So whenever you are done with modifying a model instance, you need to save. So I'm giving a command to save. Right now, you can see there is nothing inside this table. So every time I'm going to refresh now, so it returns nothing. But what happens in the database is we have created one new record. Now I'm going to refresh again, and then we do see another one created. Why is this happening? Because we are saving a new model on each new request coming in. Okay. So what would happen if someone is refreshing again and again? We need to return. We need to stop this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to return the function to redirect. So Laravel has some of these auxiliary helper function. This is a redirect function. This redirect function, what it can do, it can redirect the user depending on your conditions. So first thing, we know that there is a route we have already declared for to-dos. Okay, so to-dos we have. So for the moment, I have not declared this one. For this one, we have declared a to-dos post, but for this one, we didn't declare anything. So let's declare this one, to-dos.all. So what would happen now? Whenever someone goes here and refreshes this, we come back here. So we have now created three of these. So how do we display these three inside our list? That is obviously we need to display it from the database. So let's see how we can display. First, Laravel's models have a lot of internal functions, just like the log info. We have seen previously, I have shown you like log info. There is a function behind this info. Likewise, each of these models feature internal schema. There's a big schema behind this declared. You can read all of these in Laravel's documentation. So for the time being, I'm going to skip those through. I'm going to call a special method that returns all of these, all of the available models not models, records in the database. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to call all of these and returning them directly. Wait, give me a moment. So to do is not called again. Import. I need to import the to do. Now I'm going to see all of these records are coming now. So we need to give this inside our view. We have a view file here. This view file needs this. So need this value. So how do we pass this value? Simply, we need to create a new variable and give it to do. And then within this view function, the view helper function, we can call a specific call to do this $to do. And now, so this is in this variable, this to do will receive the value of this to do list whenever this view is called. Okay. So now what I'm going to see here, we see the same page now, but we have the to do file here. So I'm going to rename it for to do's for the namesake compatibility. So let's see what do we see here. So at for each. So in PHP, you'd have seen for each loops. So inside Blade, Laravel implements the same for each. Okay, so now I'm going to call the to-dos. We have declared to-dos here, so that I'm calling the to-dos as well a to-do. Okay, so now I have my to-do here. How do I access the database method is by direct magic methods. Okay, so what we can directly call description, which would directly map into this field. That is the one of the advantage as well as a small problem with Laravel. So whenever you call to do description, it goes into the database and checks the database field and gives you the output. Okay, so we have this here. So let me put a line break so that you can see clearly. Okay, so these three are coming from database. Now, how we can create this into editable that complete marks? We need the checkbox. So let us copy this one here and see. We'll get a checkbox here now, but this is not being updated. How do we update it? We need a form as well. Let's put the form. Let's put the form here. So by default, what happens with this form? Whenever we submit this form, it creates a new record. Let's see here. Yeah. Okay. So whenever we check this and submit it, sorry, I missed the CSRF. So you need to give CSRF for every form, otherwise it doesn't work. Wait. You need to give the input and then to do description so that there is an input field. We need that input field, otherwise that will not work. So it is creating new records, but it's not saving the complete true as well, because we have not declared to save in proper. Okay. So saving there. Okay. To do get completed. Yeah, that's correct. So let's see how we can automate remove the submit button. So we can just add a function. Give me a second. Okay. So now currently we are posting to the post method I have shown you. So we need to change that one first. We need to update the existing one. So let's declare a put method which will update the to do. So we need to identify which to do function to update. We have like 4 of them now. We need to know which one to update. So Laravel provides us with a special method route definition. We can declare our to do like this. So when we wrap the word inside curly brace inside a route URI, what would Laravel do is it will automatically create a reference to that inside our function. So let's see, you can call the function like this, to do. Okay. So it will automatically inject the to do here. So let's see. Let's go through this first. Return $to do. Okay, so let's see if we can change this here. And so, as I have told you, in early days of HTML, so we had these 4 types of separate HTTP verbs. But currently, in all of these browsers, we only have get or post. So overcome this limitation, we have there are 4 verbs inside Laravel, but we cannot use all of them inside modern day browser because it only supports get and post. For that instance, we need to declare whether this form is going to use a specific method inside Laravel. Then how we do it is we call a special function called method, and we say it is put. I'm going to use a put method here. Okay, so the put method is going to be called here. Now, this put method is linked. Here, it should say post because it is a subtype of post, but the actual method called inside the route is put. Okay, so the main difference is that you need to understand if you're coming from plain PHP to Laravel, is that there are different types of route declarations you need to follow. Okay, so if you miss one of these, like if you forget to declare put method, what would happen is you'd lose the context and that function will not work. Okay, so going ahead, we'll see what we would get if we click the submit button now. I removed it. Let me put it back in. Okay, so I need to change. I need to rename this one. Name this one to dot put. Okay, let's say for the sake update. Okay, so I'm saying say update. So routes also need to know which model to update. So we need to pass which model we are updating. So it automatically maps this to do to here. Okay, so we see a button now. We select this one, submit, and we see number 1 here. You can see number 1. Why do we see number 1? We are returning what is given there. So we need to find the to do now. Rather than doing such, we can just directly call Laravel's auto loading. So this is a mechanism by which Laravel can automatically detect the model which you need to know, and then it just captures it out. Okay. So now what will happen? We have the ID1, the entire model being loaded as soon as we type in that this is a to-do object. So this number is itself inside mapped to a specific record so that Laravel automatically fetches it and maps it. So now what we need to do? We have a request coming like earlier, and now we need to save this. So we just copy this one and paste it here. Okay. So now we copy this here and save. Now we do a refresh. So this is being updated. You can see the updated field is being changed on every request. Now also we are not redirecting. We need to redirect now. So once we redirect here, so let's see. Okay, so I'm changing this one. So wait. Okay. So we need to mark this checkbox as checked because currently I mark this as checked, but this is not showing up because I have not given. So I have shown you earlier, if function can be used anywhere like this. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to call to do completed. Okay. Inside the brackets of if, and then I'm going to say checked. So this function will make sure if the to-do is checked, it will update it. Otherwise, it will remove it. So now there's a problem. So how do we handle unticked inputs? Okay, so we click here and then submit it. And it just works. Now, what do we know? What do we do next? We have the routes saving the to-do list, and we just let's tidy this up a little bit. Okay, so we'll remove the routes list. Let's remove this button, and let's say we have on change support submit. So whenever we are changing this field, it will automatically update it. Let's see like this. Okay, so we have removed the submit button. We have now removed the line breaks, and now we have the automatic saving function. So now we do see there are 4 search boxes. We can add new like this, and also we can remove this submit button by doing the same. So whenever a change occurs, we can save new without having to have a submit button. Okay, so let's say a new to-do list. So whenever I skip to the next field, it automatically creates this. Now we can see if we can delete it or not. The next thing, okay, give me a moment. What is reverse routing? Okay, I'll answer your question in a short while. Okay, so currently what we have done, we have created our to-do list, a simple one. So let's see how we can tidy it up further. So we have removed all latent parts. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create some new styles that it looks a little bit more cozy. Okay, okay, order. So we have a small thing now here. So we can copy the same styles to the bottom one so that it looks same. Okay, so now we have a simple list, and let's add a title here. H1 to-do list. Okay, so we have the small list here. That is, we can save, mark as complete, and it persists. So this is a simple demonstration of Laravel's functions. Let us go through what we have done now. Okay, so we are calling these functions from inside the route declaration. Okay, so route declarations allows us to declare where our routes would go to resolve it. So currently what we do is we are resolving our entire application inside the route file. But what we can do more better is we can move this logic into a controller, and that is the proper way to do it in a Laravel application. Okay, so what we'll do, we'll go over here and then we'll create a new controller. The artisan also comes with a method that can generate a controller. Okay, so let's generate to-do controller as a resource controller. What does that mean by resource inside making a controller is we are creating a controller based on database table so that we can declare a resource so that all of these methods are created. This post, put, and get methods by default gets created. So let's see what does it do. So it creates a controller inside HTTP. Okay, so this index method is literally returns on the whenever get request is given to the root endpoint. Let's declare how to call this resource controller. So Laravel by default gives you a method to call this resource by name. Let's say to do, and then I'm going to give as to do controller class. This definition, what this definition does is it creates resource allocation inside the Laravel route list. Okay, so what we can see the route here, artisan route list. So this method is very handy. This PHP artisan route list, what it will do, it will give you the list of functions which are linked to your application. So for example, currently I have declared a to-do class, to-do controller, which links to to-do.index and so on. And then I have a manual closure functions I have told you earlier. This closure function is linked to to-dos.all, to-dos.post, to-dos.update. Okay, so what we can now migrate our logic into this to-do controller. Let's see how it's done. So first of all, we need to move this one into our to-do controller index. So we have the index function here. We will return the same view file, but in a different controller. So now what we could do is we can just type /todo and it will return the same. Wait, I need to import the model. So this is a very important part of the application. So whenever you copy something, this to-do class will not be defined in here. You need to import the class by default in Laravel, in PHP's ecosystem. So PHP, you need to import it. So PHP Storm will allow you to directly import it. Otherwise, you need to go here and type use app models and say to do. Okay. So now this to do is imported. What you do is you not get that error. You do see the list. But now, whenever I do the change, you can see that URL is being changed to to-dos again. So I'm going here, but I'm changing something, it's going back to the URL. So what's missing is that inside this to-dos view, we have not declared to change to this endpoint. Okay. So let's see to-do.update. What will happen here? Okay. So to-do.update, where does it go? Inside here, I have shown you earlier, this to-do.update is going to come into the to-do controller update. Okay, so we have not declared anything inside to-do.update. So here you have, see, that the update is coming, but we have not done anything here. So let's see what we can do. Let's see, let's copy this out and put it inside our controller. Okay, so now we do not have the to-do automat. What we can do, we can fetch the to-do using the ID to-do find $ID. So now we are finding the to-do. Now we have a special variable called request. Instead of this request helper function, we can use that one. We just call the given request one. This request is specific towards Laravel. This Laravel request object is a special one. You can declare specific validations inside Laravel using this request. What you do is you can generate a new request. PHP artisan make request same to do create update request.
Okay. So to do update request is now created. We can change this one to do update request. What it will do, it will refer to the request which we just created. We need to return certain functions like this. Authorize is a specific function towards Laravel's authorization system, which has to return true for a request to succeed. So if you have a specific user validation rules here, you can declare it here. And then you need to validate the input from the user. So let's say description should not include numbers. So we can find information around this. So let's say required, this is required, we need this field, we need to have on the alpha characters. Alpha means we can only have strings which are not separated by anything else. Okay, so it's just only, you can only use A to Z here. So I have just changed the to do update request here, and now I'm giving a validation role that description should be required and it should be only alpha. So let's say if you do this, it's not saving now because it is failed. Currently, the request we are doing is not saved because this is only alpha. Our description currently has some space in it. Okay, so let's change it. So we don't have a space now, it is saved. Otherwise it doesn't save. If you add some space, it doesn't save that. Okay, so some validation rules are like that. You can find more information about this validation inside this documentation here. Okay, so there are a lot of validation rules available in Laravel. You can learn about them later on because there are a lot of them. Okay, so let's go into the, I have removed the alpha for the time being, and now we are saving and redirecting back. So here we change to todo.index. So now we have to-dos, say to-do, okay. Now it's saving with spaces and so on. So todo.index, it is going back. Okay, so we need to map that new one as well. So changed. So it's currently redirecting back to to-dos. So we'll do the same thing. We'll copy the same code, okay, back into our to-do controller for create. Here also to-do update request we have. We can use the same to-do update request because we are not having any other changes. So we'll just do it. So now what happened here? We have a simple to-do list which is handled via the resource function. So let me delete all of these lines. So let's make sure that this is only functioning via the controller now. Okay, so to-dos is erroring now. So to-do is here. Oh. So I need to change the to-dos dot post here. To-do dot store. So store is the method that is called here. So now it's done. New fields. Okay, so it's just creating new lists like this. This is a very basic example of how you can do it in Laravel. Okay, so the next pieces, let's go through our questions. Okay, So why is let's go through the questions first. Oh, okay. So reverse routing. Uh, uh, Malinda, can you explain what do you mean by reverse routing? That do you mean these function calls? Hello, can you hear me? Hello.
Yeah, we can hear you, Anna, but sometimes some people put the questions, and I think sometimes they leave the sessions.
Okay. Okay. So I suppose this they refer to this. This is the reverse routing they refer to. So this reverse routing function is primarily handled by this name declaration. You need to declare the name. For a resource controller, by default, it captures the name here. You can see that PhpStorm annotates this as the name. So currently, it happens like this. So, for example, Laravel applications, in production level applications, there are many applications. Laravel is has been downloaded 100 million times so far. So there are a lot of applications. You might be using another Laravel application, but you might know most of the products coming from Sri Lanka has Laravel in it now. There is somehow not a very big enterprise product, but the small products will have this Laravel embedded in it. And then why is that migrations are so important in Laravel? So in Laravel, why the migrations are important? Say you're creating a lot of migrations. Let's say I'm going to change. I have deployed all of these changes. I have deployed these functions. Okay, now I have migrated these. I have created a new migrations here. So migrations are done now. So I need to change. I need to add a new field here. So else I want to remove a certain column that I don't need it anymore. Okay. So if such scenario comes in, you can't go into the database and edit it everywhere. So let's say you have this deployed for 5 users. You can't go into each and every database and change the migration by hand. But declaratively handling them, it'll make easier to change them. So for example, I want to add a user ID column so that I can segregate the separate to-do list for each user. What would happen here? I would say PHP artisan make migration and say it's table. You need to change it to table to-dos, and then you can say update to-dos table. This is a declarative name that you give for that class, and then it will create a new file. So be careful that you should not declare two names in the same manner. So for example, if you declare the same function again, same class name again, Laravel will error. Okay, because the class name will already exist and it will not work. Therefore, you need to declare a different name so that it works. Okay. So next thing, I'm going to add the column. So table big unsigned big integer user ID and table foreign user ID references ID. So this is literally similar to a database declaration that you would call for a database schema change users. So this would actually generate something like foreign key user ID references column ID on users. This will generate a similar output into the schema like this. So right now we have created a forward function. So for example, when we need to reverse this one, we need to declare another one as well. So we need to drop the foreign, and then say user ID, then table drop column, user ID. Okay. So we need to drop the foreign and then drop the column likewise. So when I run this migration, migrate, you just need to run only migrate and then wait. So okay, so currently there is no foreign keys given, but I have some records here, so it will error now. So I would say I'd give a default one. Okay. So I have created a problem here. So there is a change here. I'm deleting all of these records and going to migrate again. So this is a scenario that you would come across, that often that you have migrated the database, but what would happen is in middle of these you would have changed some values and you'd deploy it to the user. You should be careful like this when doing changes like this. Okay, so when you migrate it again, what would happen is it have the user ID column now. Currently we are not saving any user ID, so let's see. Yes, it will not save because there is a user ID column missing. So how we can create this user ID is by including a login screen by Laravel Breeze. This is a package from Laravel's creator that launches up a login page. Okay, so I'm going to use that one. So now it should give you a login screen. Sorry. Okay. Give me a moment. So give me a second. I'll come to your question in a moment. So we need to create the login. We need to declare the routes. Okay. So here to declare the route for the login. Let's see. I need to check the breeze. Okay, there is some part I am missing. Yeah, I am missing to install the breeze. Oh, this, install this. Okay, so once you have done that, you need to install the npm so that it generates the files. I'm using yarn instead of npm because yarn is a little bit faster than npm installs. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna now run the dev. Once this install finishes, okay. Yarn run dev. Okay, so it builds the files that is necessary for the breeze to function, and we'll run the migration in the tab. Okay. Okay, so PHP artisan migrate the database. Yeah. Okay, now we should have the login here. Yeah, the login function is here. You can create a new user here. Okay, register. Okay, now we can simple password so that I register a new account. So I just create a new account for me. So I'll go here to do. Okay, to do. Let's go. Oh, there. It deleted the functions. Okay. So I need to redeclare the to-do function now. Does not exist. Okay. So now we have the to-do class here. So now when we have the to-do class, inside the to-do class, we need to save the user. So for first, we need to say there is a concept called middlewares inside Laravel. Okay, so you can see there is a middleware called authentication called upon by the greens. So I'm going to copy this one. I'm going to give it here. So whenever this happens, so let's say I have already logged in now. Okay, so now I'm logged in. So I log out and I type the to do. I go to the login page only. Okay, so I have to log in now with my password before I go to the to-do list. Okay, so now I'm going to save this to-do list by typing as earlier, but one change needs to be done here. To-do user ID. I'm going to call a special helper function authentication of user and then ID. These functions are declared inside Laravel as helper functions. You will find documentation around these helper functions in this documentation here. So I'm not going to cover all of those here today. So this helper function, what it does, it will get the authentication instance from Laravel and gets the logged in user. As we have already validated the user to be logged in, we can just directly call auth user and ID. Otherwise, what do you have to use is you need to call auth user before calling auth user. You need to check as well. Likewise, the next thing you do, everything else is fine. So let's go over here and say it's saving now. So now we need to change if someone else is logged in. So let's say where. So we need to map the database here where user ID user ID. Okay. So whenever the user is coming, we'll only filter the specific one for them. So now I'm going to log out and log in as a log out as a new user, and I would not see the same thing I have seen earlier. So let's see. Okay, I would see a new list here, but rather earlier I would see a big list for. So I would log in here again. Okay, I do see this list, but I do see a new list here. So now we have created a filter by the user ID. There are a lot of methods that you can move this function into the model itself so that the automatically model filters whenever you call like all. Okay, so there are many methods that you can scope this function for every user. Okay, so that's it for today, and then I am going to explain the databases. So Laravel supports all of these databases. Most of the MySQL, SQL, relational databases such as MySQL, SQLite, Postgres, MS SQL, in addition to any database that supports these wire protocols. So wire protocols means these databases specify certain mechanisms of connection, and then it works. Any other questions?
I think no questions more, so we can
We
come.
can do.
Thanks. Yeah, just be.
Okay, so thank you guys for inviting me for the speech, and I'm so happy that I could do this.
Now I hope you all clear your doubts and are sure it is a great and useful event to your audience. So our special thanks goes to Mr. Jnanageethan Balasubramaniam, who is freelance software engineer and experienced backend developer. And his depth of understanding of our audience and his ability to present the subject in such an interesting way to produce one of the most greatest event in Fox history. And I would like to express my another big thanks to all of you generally helped us make this event come together to become success. And please don't forget to give your feedback that is provided in the chat box. And also, during the next weeks, you will be learning the different initiatives through our planned activities. Don't miss this chance, my dears. And last but not the least, I want to convey my thanks for giving this opportunity to free and open source software community in the University of Sri Yavatnapura. Thank you to all. Have a good sleep. Have a good night.